Okay. Welcome to the show, Puzzled Parents. I have Jill Schieber with us today, and I'm so excited to have you on the show. Welcome, Jill.
Thank
What
you.
brings you here today? How are you connected with the autism community?
So I'm a social worker for 40 years, and in my um, practice, I learned that people were very lonely. People who had any kind of developmental disability or any kind of difficulty. Specifically, people who had social difficulties such as autism and ADHD and anxiety. But
Mhm.
it became very clear to me that people were lonely, and they were putting themselves at risk by being on the internet because that's really the only way they knew how to do it. So I felt that it was very important to match people together, and to introduce people for romance and for friendship on an individual basis. I also felt like groups weren't working the way that everybody was hoping, and there really weren't
Mhm.
many other resources other than groups. So
Right.
that's where my matchmaking came in.
And that you have a business that you do that's a matchmaking business.
Yes, I do. It's called Matchmaking for Me, and it used to be called Matchmaking for the Socially Challenged. We just changed it. And yes, I do.
Oh, cool. And when did you start that?
It's actually 2 years ago next week.
Congratulations. That's
Yeah. Thank
awesome.
you.
And you are located in the Long Island area, you said.
Well, I serve nationwide. Personally, I'm in Long Island and mostly cater to the New York City metro area, but we have a lot of people nationwide as well. So, yeah.
So it was interesting you said about dating online. That's actually how I met my husband.
Hmm. Yeah, well,
We
it's changed unfortunately. Back some time it was so much safer. Yeah.
yeah, we've been married for 5 years, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's definitely there's definitely some unsafe characters out there and unsavory characters because I
Totally.
could definitely tell you some stories, which I won't share here, but yeah,
Me
I
too,
think
unfortunately.
this is
Yeah.
a great, I think this is great because, dating is very much a social skill.
Hmm.
And, even if it goes as far as marriage, marriage is a complete skill set itself. And
Yes.
that's not something
Yeah.
that they're going to get in school or anything like that.
Yes, yeah,
Um,
that's something interesting we've gotten into. We could talk about that later, is the marriage counseling for people who have special needs. We've been doing as well.
Okay. So do you have a particular tell me about your program. Do you do like an initial meet and then kind of like fill out a profile? Like what if somebody wanted to
Mhm.
start dating, like what is the process that you would walk them through to begin that process?
So we have three ways that anybody can get involved. The first way is for free. The next way is what we call basic membership, and then we have premium membership. And the premium membership is what anybody would think of when they think of being involved with a matchmaker. We're out there looking for them. We find them a certain number of guaranteed matches, and so that's the premium membership. But the basic membership and the free aspect of it forms our database. So that's kind of where we pull people from, um, primarily from the database. But if somebody, premium member, if I don't have enough people for them, we go out and we scout for them, we search for them. So the other two, the free membership is just that they're in our
Mhm.
database, and then the basic membership, it's much lower cost, but there's other ways of getting matches, such as you can pay for a match. There's lower coaching fees,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. And so the
Right,
best way to get
right.
involved would be to go on the computer to the website matchmakingforme.com, and you can either fill in a free profile, to be matched with our members, or you can look at our membership options. Look at the basic membership, look at the premium membership, give us a call and ask some questions, that kind of thing.
That's amazing. Like, was there framework set up for that, or is this something that you've developed from your experience, like the questions that you ask and the method that you use to match people?
Yeah, it's all come, from my experience. There really, as far as I know, there's nothing like it in the country that does it. There are some similar, but they're very, very different. I don't know how to explain it, but they're much less of a scale.
Right.
And yeah, no, everything I do is mostly therapeutic because that's that's my background.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Now, do you does the person, if they go to sign up, do you have a sort of a vetting process to protect against like
For sure.
people that
Yeah.
might be inappropriate or things like that?
Absolutely. That's one of the most important things. So we do a background check, we do
Okay.
identity checks, and we also vet people. So there's nobody that I will match with anybody else for friendship, for romance in any way until I've gotten to know them. So we kind of do like a Zoom interview and we really just talk and I get to know them as well. And so I believe I like to say that that's what makes us safer.
That's definitely a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
Mhm.
really cool that you came up with that and just kind of dove in and develop your own framework.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's kind of what I've done in my coaching business because I have an autism advocacy and coaching business, Bright Path for Autism,
Hmm.
that I've kind of developed using my experience in healthcare in addition to raising my daughter with autism by myself.
Wow.
And I think that's what makes it unique is it's not a textbook, it's not rubber stamped, it's not something that,
Right.
you know, as my dad would say, Joe Blow off the street could walk in and do it, you know.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
It's very, very, very specifically unique.
Hmm.
So that's awesome.
Yeah. We also do coaching in a similar way. The coaches that I use, they don't use a curriculum, although they know of curriculums, they don't use a curriculum. It's
Right.
very person-centered, what they need. Some people need to be meeting every week with our coaches and need them very
Mhm.
involved, and other people need to like, just kind of check in and see how things are going. And
Right.
so the coaching is also that kind of model.
So what oh shucks, I had a question. It just went out of
The
my
coaching, maybe related to the coaching.
What's that?
Was it something related to the coaching? No.
It was something related to the coaching. Yeah. What do you feel are the baseline skills that someone would need to have to be successful in your program, social skills wise? Like, I know that you teach some things and go through your program, but I feel like there's probably some kind of baseline. They have to be at least able to do this before we can go to the next thing.
Usually we go with communicating, speaking. However, I find that we draw very high functioning. I know that's not the right term to use, but very I don't know any other word.
I've been using it for 30 years, so
Yeah, and I still
I
do too, to be
understand
honest
it.
with you, because I don't think there's words like it. But the high functioning people, because what I find is that people on the spectrum that are like mid functioning, if anybody knows what level 2 and 3 is, level two,
Right.
they're in day programs. They have a whole, setup for themselves. They're all their day is defined, and
Mhm.
so it's like that. But people who are high functioning, they can have jobs, and they can do things. They can drive, some can and some can't. But there's
Right.
really no way of interacting with people in a structured way that can help somebody. And so I find that primarily we get a level one kind of higher functioning
Mhm.
person. Um,
Okay.
but generally I go by speaking, because I think that or just sign language, some kind of communication. I think
Gotcha.
that needs to happen to make as many friendships and that kind of thing.
Okay. So a basic knowledge of not just speaking, but being able to listen and kind of process and pick up on some facial cues, social cues, those kind of things a little
No,
bit. I mean, you
not
need to work on those,
necessarily.
but
No, not necessarily. I mean, that's what we do, but just in order to have the ability to communicate, to learn.
okay.
I mean, I've seen people that speak with boards and they're adept with it, and that's fine. And then there's others that, sign language, and that's fine, but they really need to
Right.
have some kind of ability to communicate with more than just a family. Um,
Right.
mhm.
Right. Do you find that a lot of your clients are living independently or do they live with family or a caregiver?
Yeah, it's very, very 50-50. I think it's kind of age dependent. I think in the 20s, I think they're living with their families. And then at some point they try and live independently because, most parents, their biggest fear is what happens when I'm not here. So that
Right.
very important to kind of make them as independent as possible. And that's what I'm seeing. So, late 20s, I see people either in a supported environment or, living with a friend or learning how to live on their own. So I think it's a
Right.
little bit of everything, and it depends on what deficits and what skills need to
Hmm.
be, they need to have.
So do your services include for those that need it? Like let's say I'm someone on your service and you've been working with me for a little while under the dating aspect of it. But let's say, okay, now I move out of mom and dad's and you get a couple of challenges. There's some definitely a skill set that you need to be able to do that. Is
Mhm.
that something you could work on with people as well, or is that kind of like a separate program you do, or would that kind of intertwine with what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that relationships affect our lives in general. So not
Mm.
as a rule, but when it's in a session, I think that and somebody brings it up related to meeting people, coach, relationships and communicating and all that, absolutely our coaches will definitely address those things.
Now, do you partner with any other coaching or community resources as well?
Well, so as a matchmaker, matchmakers they connect, so if they're looking for somebody in a different state or whatever, and so although it's not, I'm the only one who specializes in this, but
Right.
sometimes they look to each other more to make matches, but sometimes I do look to them to find a match someplace. So that's the
Mhm.
network, and I'm very big on networking. I think it's very important to connect because the people out there that need this, you know, they don't know and they're not necessarily Googling. And so I think a lot of the therapists and
Mhm.
professionals that's important. So I network as much as possible with that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, does your company have like an affiliate program associated with it, or is it just kind of networking, communicating, just kind of meeting people?
Not really affiliate. No, not really an affiliate. No. We have a second company that we work with teenagers with, just for friendship, but not like you're talking about.
Okay,
Hmm.
well, that's really cool. Do you want to talk about that other company that focuses on teenagers as well while we're here?
Yeah, sure. It's fairly new. It's called the Friendship Remedy. And what we do is we're pairing people with um,
Mhm.
what we call e-pals, which is like a modern day version of a pen pal.
Right.
And so we'll give them somebody in Connecticut and somebody in Texas. We'll give them somebody else similar to them, and they're video chatting with them and becoming friends, just the same way they would try to do on the
Mhm.
internet. And sometimes we'll include coaching if if it's felt that it's needed. Sometimes, the coaches will work with a lot of our members and clients
Mhm.
in the session. So, for example, if they're meeting for the first time, a coach might be part of it and kind of prompt
Right.
certain questions and kind of help them get to know each other in the
Okay.
beginning. And so they will do that for our teens as well. Um,
Sort of like a facilitator.
Yeah, exactly. So that tends to be 13 to like 18. And it's just getting off the ground, but I've had so much of a request for it that, I want
Oh, yeah, for certain,
to,
for
yeah.
sure.
And it's a less costly program. It's just, like I said, it's like old-fashioned pen pals,
Yeah.
in a way, knowing people and having friends at a different place. And I hope to see that in the future that they might go visit each other, that kind of thing.
Right.
That's
Right.
where we're going with
That
it.
kind of brings up one of my goals and vision. Like my long-term goal for my business is I want to sort of facilitate and create supported living communities kind of
Mhm.
throughout not just the US, but I work with people in like in the UK and
Mhm.
you know, Africa and different places
Mhm.
where there's such a need.
Oh, yes, for sure. There really is such
Um,
a need.
the other thing that I work with is employers,
Hmm.
like trying to,
Yes.
I'm starting to do this. This is new for me,
Hmm.
is trying to develop, I don't know if you
Relationship.
call it a program or a branch or a
Relationship.
network. Yeah,
Yeah.
education where, because my daughter's 27
Okay.
and she lives on her own.
Hmm.
She can work part time if she chooses. She's not right now because she's got some issues going on right now. But it's hard to get people to hire her.
Yeah.
There's and that's the thing. I think autism is now what, one in three, I
Yeah.
think.
Yes.
And so these kids are going to grow up, and my question is, now what? Like you were saying, parents are worried about what happens when I'm not here anymore. And so that's sort of the question that I deal with, is more like what happens when you're not here? Well, let's create
Yes.
that. And
Yes.
I think that you've hit the nail on the head with this very important skill, because these people want the same things we want. They want to be independent, they want these
Yeah.
meaningful relationships, they want to
Hmm.
be out on their own and be having a fulfilling life. So I think that's great.
Yeah, I think in my corner of the world, like New York, New Jersey, that area, I've seen it's kind of similar to what you're doing, people who are working on, connecting them with different companies and um, you know, helping, the public understand that there's a very positive place in the workplace for them. And yeah, and I think that's great. And I've even seen a company in New York, and I don't know that there's much of this, but what the company does is they do like management, like they kind of do all the paperwork and all that stuff, but they also are kind of like a support system, like a family in a certain way, like, calling and following up. And I think
Like
that,
a job coach type thing.
no, it's actually, they're very hard to explain because they're very unique. And it is, they'll do all of the case management stuff. But on
Okay.
top of the case management, they become like a support system, but a more personal support system.
Right.
And trying to think of the name of the company. I'm going to tell you in a minute.
Yeah, I'd love to have that.
They are phenomenal, and they kind of very, very personal. So when if I set one of their people up on a date, they'll go over there and they'll talk to them and they'll help prepare them and do all different things you know, to help. And they consider themselves counselors. It's called Future Centered Care, and they're out of Manhattan. And do you want their phone number? Did I give you that?
Sure. Do you have a point of contact there?
I do. I do.
I don't usually record this stuff, but that's okay.
Absolutely.
Folks, this is real and raw. It's real time. You get what you
Absolutely.
get.
Yeah.
Life's messy. Life, it just flows. And
Yeah.
this platform is to share all
Absolutely.
resources, anything that can help people.
Mhm.
So we're going to go ahead and do.
I'd like people to learn from her too, because I think she's brilliant, honestly. So her name is Allison Kleinman, and her number
Allison, what was the last name?
Kleinman, Kleinman.
Okay.
And her number is 917-721-9227.
And you don't think she would mind having her number out there on a
No, not
program?
at all. Not at all. She's wonderful. And if it's not somebody in her area that she can help, she'll find you somebody. But it's been a very unique program that is so badly needed for people as they're aging. And as a social worker working with families, that was the number one fear, is what's going to happen when I'm not here.
Yeah.
And is their
Yeah.
brother or sister, or they don't have a brother and sister, or their cousin,
Right.
right to be the one to take care of them? And is it fair to do that to
Absolutely.
somebody? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I
Mhm.
actually took a short break for about 6 months from doing physical therapy with patients to be a case manager for the Medicaid program here in Virginia. And
Mm-hmm.
I really learned a lot. It was very eye-opening, and the way I was trained, and I worked with a really, really good friend of mine, and she's very thorough, very detail oriented. And me working with my daughter and our we actually co-founded a support group at the time for
Mm-hmm.
families with kids with autism, because we live a very rural area.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so you'd have to drive 45 minutes to an hour just to get close to
Yeah.
a more populated, sometimes an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And your kid doesn't want to do that there and back and then have to do all that social thing and have to ride home. And
Yes. Yes.
so we formed a local thing. But I am I don't know if you run into where a lot of times I feel like the case managers themselves are, I don't know if it's that they're overworked, they have too many cases.
You're talking about with
Um,
Medicaid, though. Is that what you're talking about? The case managers with?
Medicaid case
Yeah.
managers, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Well.
that they have too many
Mm-hmm.
clients, or I had a problem with my daughter where her case manager was just sending her a text every month. Hey, how you doing? You doing okay? Yeah, I'm fine. You know,
Yes.
and with their magical thinking, people with autism are not going to generally be
Yeah.
honest about their observations, whether they're able to observe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we do that as neurotypical people. Oh, how you doing? Oh, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
When in reality you're going,
Right.
and
Exactly.
overwhelmed and stressed and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, I and my daughter actually ended up in a situation where um she had a high school friend move in with her,
Mm-hmm.
and she had the friend brought somebody in to live there with her
Mm-hmm.
later down the way.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter ended up being in a position where she was being exploited and abused by this third person. And she actually she had a brand new, brand spanking new, they just built them. She had this beautiful 2 bedroom, 2 bath apartment, handicap accessible.
Wow.
I would have lived there. It wasn't that,
Yeah.
I'm like, dang, I don't have granite countertops. These are
Yeah,
nice.
exactly.
And it ended up that she ended up getting kicked out of her apartment because of them.
Oh, wow.
And the apartment people knew it wasn't her because she'd been there for 2.5 years already. Um, and they actually, I won't say who it was, but they actually told her, you know, look, we don't normally do this, or we're not usually allowed to do this, but you are welcome to come back.
Mm,
But they're not,
right. Right.
because
Right.
they knew what was going on and they were trying to help her, but she wasn't ready to see it. So
Yes. Yes. Yes.
just that right there is definitely something that is desperately needing good case managers.
Yes, yes. Yeah,
Um,
when I was talking about case managers before, I was talking about case management in a different sense, in terms of
right.
taking care of all these stuff. But yeah, I mean, in New York, they're very overworked. Yes, very. And New Jersey, a little less, but not, and I've worked in a couple of different other states, and it's a government run program, and
Yeah.
it's very dependent on the government money, and unfortunately,
Yeah. Cuts, and yeah, it's hard. And I feel like we touched on something that's very, very important, and you mentioned it, is the networking piece.
hmm
That's where you're going to learn most of what you need. Like, I
hmm
was in healthcare in this area probably about, I don't know, 15 years or so
hmm
before I found out about Virginia's Medicaid waiver programs.
hmm
And I found out about that through my autism connections,
hmm
with other parents, not because it was healthcare. And I thought, man, this is the best kept secret in the state of Virginia,
Yeah.
because these
Yeah.
people need that support and help. So,
Do they do it?
um,
Do they start, like out of high school or before high school in Virginia?
there's different ones, and I'm trying to remember because they just revamped the whole thing back like when I was doing it, and they have different levels. It's based on need. It used to be they had an intellectual disability waiver and a developmental disability waiver, and you
Mm-hmm.
got on a wait list and you sat there till your turn came up.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's based on what you need and what your situation is like. If for some reason, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like let's say you have an adult with autism and their parents do pass away and they're in a situation where they're going to become homeless.
Right.
Well,
Right.
they go to the front of the line. They go on level one
Sure.
and they're going to need X, Y, and Z. And they get
Hmm.
emergency help
Okay.
and all this stuff.
Okay.
So, um, but yeah, we were able to get one of the waivers where because she was on the wait list,
Hmm.
we qualified for this other waiver that kind of gave a little bit of support. Like we could hire an attendant for her, and
Hmm.
Medicaid
Yeah.
would pay for them a certain
Hmm.
number of hours a week and things like that.
Okay.
But she qualified for Medicaid then,
Good.
um, which
Hmm.
was nice because she has seizures and different things, medications and things.
Yes, that's
But
important. Hmm.
anyhow, so I want to talk about your business partner. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
All right. I know he wasn't able to be here today, but would you like to kind of share who that is and what their situation is and how
Hmm.
how that partnership kind of came about and
Hmm. Hmm.
any particular benefits or
Hmm.
challenges that come from that?
Yeah, sure. So it's my son, it's my younger son. His name is Jordan. And about, I would say a year and a half ago, he had graduated from graduate school and couldn't find a job. And he majored in business and had a real business sense. And he was always kind of helping me with the business. And we just decided to make it official that that we would be partners and do this together. And the business has grown tremendously since he's been around. He really does know his stuff when it comes to business. I'm not a business
I,
person.
I'm, I'm thinking I might need to chat with him for a few minutes separately. Because I'm a healthcare worker. I don't have a degree in business, but
Yeah, no, that's
anyway.
exactly what was happening. Literally the first month I was in this and people were like, "Do you think that we should do this or that?" And I was like, "No, you can wait with that and you can wait with this." And I wasn't really like, selling to some extent and helping people to understand how helpful it would be. And so, I'm a social worker. I help people and that's my mindset. And it still is, by the way. It's not no different. And I
Yeah.
like having him here so that I can continue to work the way that I have been working. But yeah, but he's been great. And he's also been matching also, I've taught him matchmaking and he's also trained for it. So he's taking a little bit of everything. Right now we're doing a lot of social media together
Right.
to get the word out. And yeah, and that's
So he has high functioning
no,
autism
he's
as
not. No,
well.
he doesn't have high functioning autism. My older child was one that we had more issues with. Not really autistic, but a lot of anxiety and stuff going on with it, learning issues. But no, my younger son, and it's very interesting. My younger son was always very quiet, and he was kind of had like that, kind of had some similar things, but didn't, if that makes sense. And he never,
Absolutely.
yeah, and who knows? I don't know if he's autistic or not, but if anything, he was the one that had more similar traits. It's so prevalent at this point that it's in every family. You know what I'm saying? It's every.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Everyone knows someone who is touched by autism in some way.
Hmm.
And that's the reality of the world we live in, not just in our communities, but now with
Absolutely. Yeah.
global reach with things like well the Zoom like we're doing today,
Hmm.
it's definitely something that everybody has a stake in.
Yes. Yeah. Like I have a nephew who's on the spectrum, and uh, it is what it is. Everybody's learning how
Yeah.
to fit into our world.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's key, it shouldn't have to be that way, but it is. The
Correct.
world needs to make room for them,
We need
you
to
know.
evolve. Yes, we need to evolve around any kind of difficulties and disabilities. We really do. autism being most.
Couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, and that's one of my that's one of my objectives for my long-term plan is to really try to do what I, try to help bridge that gap a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's super
Um,
important. And I think what you're doing is amazing by just,
oh, thank you.
simply getting the word out about all different kind of possible people that can help in the business.
Absolutely. You know, when I started this show, it was very much, and I've said this before on other episodes, this platform is for you. It's for the autism community. It's for,
Mhm.
it's for moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas, professionals,
Mhm.
siblings,
Yes.
anybody that has and can add value to that community.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to talk about the things we just don't talk about.
Hmm.
And dating is one of those things where
It definitely is.
I had a friend call me today and she's like her youngest son um finally confessed that he has this online girlfriend
Hmm. Hmm.
who lives all the way across the country. And
Yeah.
she's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And, as parents, we don't talk about this stuff and we need to.
We definitely
And,
need to. Yeah.
and that's kind of what it's about.
So there's another topic that is like that, I think, with autism, and I think that's around sex and
Hmm.
romance and intimacy. I mean,
Right,
that's something that's been kind of coming up in this business, and
right,
it's so very needed. So back when I was, just being a social worker, I had a client, for example, they were twins, a guy and a girl, and the girl was very sexually frustrated. And in every way
yeah,
she showed that with her behavior. And the parents didn't know what to do with it. And honestly, neither did I at the time.
right,
Um, Now it's a whole different story.
right.
I have people that we consult with. My coaches have become so much better at it. But there's been such unique situations. And I'm going to give you one, for example.
Hmm.
Two people who had different difficulties of their own. One was on the
Hmm.
spectrum, one not. And and this guy was in his 30s and learned about sex
Hmm.
through pornography. And so his whole
Um,
understanding about sexuality was pornography, and didn't see
um,
anything wrong with it because people talk about sex all the time. And so when he had a girlfriend and he started talking about tying her up, she was petrified. I mean, absolutely petrified. Because she was on the other end. She had never talked about this, never thought about it. And so it was a very real issue that we find
yeah,
within this community.
yeah,
And that's an extreme.
absolutely. And I know that sometimes even neurotypical people, but especially in the autism community, for example, my daughter
Hmm.
felt like, well, I'm this many years old, and that means I have to do A, B, and C because
Yes.
that's what I'm supposed to do at that age,
Right. Yes.
rather than saying, "Uh, how do I feel about that?
Mhm.
Is this person the right person for me? Are they treating me well? Do they speak to me with respect?
Right.
And
That's right.
all those things that go along with it, rather than, okay, this is the trend in society and I'm that age, so that means I have to do X, Y, and
Right.
Z.
Yes. Yes.
Do you find that some in your practice as well?
With some people, some of people with autism do have a higher level of social
Mhm.
engagement and social abilities. And so I think those people are the ones that we kind of play tug of war all the time because they may not be ready for certain things. But yeah,
Right,
I'm 20, I should be driving, or something like that. And
right.
yeah, that definitely happens for a lot of the people we work with in all different realms.
Then, of course, you're familiar with the saying, I'm sure, that if you've met one person with autism, you've met one
Hmm.
person with autism. So
That's it. Yeah.
everybody's different for sure, for sure.
Yes.
Have you ever run into situations where, let's say, somebody finds a successful long-term relationship and then the issue of, do we want to have kids or not kind of comes up? Do you ever see that at all?
Not at that point. I don't, we're just starting to kind of work with couples who have difficulties that didn't come from us, if that makes sense. And
Right,
so, yeah,
right,
but when I ask the questions, some people just don't have an answer. They don't even know what they're thinking or how they're feeling about it. I mean, it has a lot to do with maturity and developmental delay.
right,
And so, I might be setting up somebody who's 25, but developmentally like, 15, and they don't
right,
think of children
right,
then or even have the ability to. And so I'm
right,
asking them questions and I may be matching, and honestly, I wouldn't be if they were developmentally at a different level, but you
right.
know, but we're asking them these questions because this is how we learn about them. And yeah, and they're very different places. And then there's other people who are 21 and like, oh yeah, I want to start a family like now, and it's a whole different, they have a couple of siblings that have kids, and it's a whole different, different people.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. That's interesting. And that kind of brings up another piece that might kind of side swipe yours a little bit, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned, being 21, and then that brings things like alcohol and different
Yes.
things into the
Mhm.
mix. Do you have people that have issues with that, or like,
Well,
is it
it
just
is a
kind of
question.
not something
Yeah.
that comes up?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot less with this with this grouping do we see
Mm.
less. I see less alcohol, drugs, gummies. In New York, marijuana is legal.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so uh, I think that for one reason or not, they've learned that, listen, I have my hands full with other things and I don't want to add that. Every once in a while, I had a client who said to me, I don't drink anymore. I had a problem with that. But no, I'm not finding that a lot, honestly, and I
Oh,
think that's
good.
a really
Good.
positive thing. Usually it's please find me somebody that doesn't do any of that. I don't want somebody that smokes cigarettes or vapes
Yeah. Yeah.
the most I'll generally get is I'll have a drink every once in a while socially. That's what I tend
Right.
to hear from
Right.
anybody who's indulging, if that be the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was interesting to me. I just was
Yes.
wondering.
Do you get that with your daughter? Does she have an interest in that kind of thing?
Um, Unfortunately, when she was in that situation I was telling you about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
that's when kind of alcohol and certain types
Hmm.
of drugs were introduced
Yes.
in that environment where she was being controlled by these other people and exploited and abused by these other people. And so
Horrible.
some of those tendencies and habits have kind of come away with her to where she's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to drink and party. But, she has seizures, she's on medication and,
Oh,
all this stuff where it's just it, not the best decision, in my opinion.
yeah.
But they're adults. She's 27 years old. And though I get developmentally, they're
Mm-hmm.
8 to 10 years usually behind,
Mm-hmm.
but she's getting to the point where, even if you take 10 years off, that's 17.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
Once she hits 28, that's 18. Legally, she's considered an adult, but,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's
yeah,
definitely an issue for a lot of parents. I see that a lot. That they want, I see it around driving primarily because, where we live, and I'm sure where you live, it's a rural area, and they can't develop independence very well without it.
right.
And that's been a big issue. It really has been a big issue, with a lot of the people
Do
we
you
work.
have any resources up there that help train on driving?
That's a great question. No, not that I can think of. I would say like half of the people no, not even half, like a quarter of the people that we see drive. There
Mhm.
are, I mean, I'm just impressed by the fact that they can, honestly. And then I see other people who are like, no, they understand their limitations,
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and then there's a lot of them that want to drive and they're waiting for anybody to say, okay, no, I wish there was. That would be such a we have
I don't want to drive in Manhattan, but
no, no, not in Manhattan. No, nobody nobody. That's a skill that, you have to be much older to have. But
we went to San Diego. We're like, do we rent a car? Or do we Uber? We're like, nah, we're gonna Uber.
Right, exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah. So, we do have programs here. I don't know if you have this, but like, they call it Able Bus, where they'll transport people anywhere in the county. Um,
Yeah, we do. Ours is called Bay Transit. It's with Bay
mhm,
Aging, which is our
right,
brand of that, I guess you would
right.
say.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, my I'll share this story with you because it's one of my favorites, and it's just now it's funny. It's terrifying at the time, but
At the time,
my
right?
daughter drives,
Hmm.
and so when she finally got out of that bad situation with the apartment, she moved home for a while till we found her another place.
Hmm.
And so uh, I couldn't drive. I had a broken ankle. So I said, well, why don't you drive me? We had to take the other car into the shop. I said, my husband's going to drive that car. We're
Hmm.
going to follow him down to the shop and he'll drive us home.
Hmm.
No problem, right?
Hmm.
So, we live on these back roads and you have to get out to the main highway to get down. So
Hmm.
he gets out to the T with the stop sign, and he stops and then he goes, well, she just blows right through the stop sign, goes
Mm.
across 4 lanes. Our little Yaris was like screeching and going sideways, and
Oh my goodness.
my first thought was, "This is totally my fault because I didn't explain to her that
Mm.
following somebody means you
Yes.
drive normal and go the same way
Yeah.
that they go."
Well, you're right. That's really, yeah, that's,
Because sometimes when I find when she was doing really well for a period of time,
hmm
you kind of forget.
yes.
My second thought was, "Oh my god, I'm gonna die in this little car." I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And the car comes to a stop, and she's just sitting there, and I was like, "Do you need to get out? Like, what do you like? Kind of, what do you want?" Like, I'm not gonna yell at her because,
Hmm.
and she's like, "I think I'm just gonna drive normal." I was like, "Okay."
She's so lucky that nothing happened. Just so lucky. Yeah.
Yes, oh my goodness, like, we were across all 4 lanes, and we were, like, right on the
Wow.
edge of the pavement sideways. I'm like,
Wow.
My husband stopped, he came back, he's like, "Oh my goodness, I've never heard a car make that noise before."
Ah, I'm glad you can laugh about it now. That really was
Yes. So
scary.
people, if you're training your child with autism to drive, make sure you tell them that before you have them
Yeah.
follow you.
Yeah, no, these are things you have to be knowledgeable about autism to know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I raised her by myself since she was 8 months old, and her father and I didn't really co-parent a lot because
Hmm.
you know
Hmm.
it wasn't a good fit, even though I tried. But like with driving, he's trying to tell her, "Oh yeah, if the light turns yellow, you can go through it." So we're driving down that same highway again,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
we're way back. And the light turns yellow. She's like, "I'm gonna go for it." I'm like, "Stop, stop, stop." Overall, she does really well,
Yeah,
but
no,
these are the
these are the
stories we get to.
concrete things that, are interpreted differently.
And it's
Differently.
gonna go, why? Why did you tell her that?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Let
But
yellow stop, you know?
yes. Obviously if you're right under it, but if you're way back here, you stop.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
um Virginia actually does have a resource that helps to teach them about driving.
Wow.
It's in Staunton, Virginia. It's
Hmm.
called, well, it used to be called Woodrow Wilson Rehabilitation, whatever, whatever. They
Hmm.
changed it to Wilson Workforce, and I think the name might have changed again. But it's a wonderful, wonderful program
Hmm.
where not only do they help with driving, and they can help with tests for like adaptive driving and even things like that,
Hmm.
but this particular entity also does training where you can, if you can be in high school, but you have to be, I think, at least 16
Mm-hmm.
to do it. And you go for like a weekend, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll assess you, and they have to kind of stay in the dorm and go
Mm-hmm.
over to the lunch area, kind of like you would if you were in college, go over to the cafeteria to get your meals.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And they have all these different tons of different areas where they will actually can test you to see what your job skills are. And
Wonderful.
then if you're a good fit, they'll actually invite you back to be trained in that area.
What a wonderful program. That's one. So it's
It's
work
I
related
can't.
and driving, both work and driving.
They do have driving.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think they do behind the wheel unless it's like, let's say they have OTs that work on it. So let's say you're a person that's had a stroke
Right.
and you might need some adaptive driving and someone to teach you how to use it. They
Right.
do that, or they have done that. I don't want to speak for them,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yes.
but my daughter went up there and they actually stay in the dorms for
Mm-hmm.
these programs. Like she went, I think, for at least, I think it was 6 or well, it might have been 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually got trained in like a personal care aide,
Mm-hmm.
not a CNA, but kind of like a
Mm-hmm.
little bit down, like a sitter.
Okay.
But they had the training where she had to, transfer the dummy with a gait belt, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of all that stuff. And
I love that. I love the idea of them coming living together too, because I think you can do stuff.
yeah,
What they did, but you can do stuff socially with that.
socially, yeah, they had that, but also it was they learned life skills too, because they were responsible for keeping their dorm clean. They
Mm-hmm.
had to be good hygiene. They had to keep
Yes.
their clothes clean.
Yes.
All those skills, planning, doing the laundry, planning ahead. You had to be at this place at this time. And with medications, they actually had nurses on site. And
Mm-hmm.
I it's been a long time, but I think they had. I don't think they had a doctor, but they have nurses on site. They have like a clinic. And
Mm-hmm.
so if the person's not able to manage their medications themselves, they would check them in at the clinic. And then every day they'd go over and the nurse would give them their meds.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, and
Okay.
also work with them and teach them,
How to take it.
all that stuff. So amazing program. And they had all different kinds of things. They had everything from stocking shelves to um like mechanics, and I
Mm-hmm.
think they may have even had a welding program or something like that. There was I didn't She wanted to do cosmetology,
Mm-hmm.
so they had tested her for that, but that wasn't a good fit. So wonderful program.
It's run by the
People
state.
go,
It's
what's
run.
that?
Is it run by the state or is it private?
I know that they have I'm not sure where they get their funding.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
She was under the Department of Aging and Rehabilitation Services here in Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
so DARS paid for her training.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I didn't really have to look into that too much.
Yeah.
But that's a good question.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But they do have a website, and I can get you that information if you want it. I don't know what it currently is, but
I mean, I can look it up. We don't have anything like that as far as I know. We may. As far as I know. I mean, I've been in the field for a while, but
yeah,
mhm,
yeah. But excellent, excellent program. And
wonderful.
one thing that did for her, talking about social aspect of it, one thing that did for her was, what, they they want to fit in
Mm-hmm.
like we all do.
Of course.
And it's hard because a lot of times they don't fit in. And
Sure.
so they think, oh, people will call them names. Oh, you're a weirdo, you're a freak, you're,
Yeah.
all these different things. And she called me up one day and she said, Mom, all these people here have autism too. They're just like me.
Mm,
She was like,
mm-hmm.
boom, like,
That was
hey,
yeah,
I'm
beautiful.
not alone. I'm not the only one. Look at all these people, and they're just people like me. And I think that gave her a sense where she could make peace with it within herself,
Oh,
because she would
okay.
wrestle like, I hate this, I wish I didn't have this, and
Yeah.
but she learned to accept it through that, and that was one of the things it gave
Yeah.
her.
Well,
So
that's beautiful, honestly. That's really I could see so many opportunities for that. I really could, it just fits in so many needed places.
it is, and there's just not enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely not enough. And that kind of ties into the whole, like, employers and workforce, like,
Hmm.
different thing. We need more programs like that.
Absolutely. Yes, because I
Uh,
mean, you talk about autism and some of them are brilliant in certain areas. I mean, you use that, use that in the right place. Um,
right.
yeah.
Well, I sure appreciate you coming on today. Was there anything else that you'd like to kind of touch on, or you
No,
feel
not
like,
if I could just mention my website again,
please, please, absolutely.
matchmaking for me, FOR me.com. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Jill. I appreciate you so much.
Same here.
Um,
Thank you for
Thank
having
you,
me.
everybody, for watching, and we'll see you soon.